Studio Series is a toy line celebrating the Transformers movies. Where the live-action films are concerned, almost every character and every form they took is getting a toy at some point. And like several past and present lines, the figures are numbered, though I won't be reviewing them in that order, nor am I buying them all to begin with. Arbitrarily, we'll start with number 18, or SS-18, at least on Hasbro's side of things, the first mainline release of Bumblebee from the Bumblebee movie. 11 years after that joke from the 2007 movie, live-action Bumblebee finally takes the form of a Volkswagen Beetle. Unlike the super deformed design of certain G1 Bumblebees, this one is more realistically proportioned, being much longer than it is wide. It's based on the 1967 Beetle, from its overall shape to the style of the headlights, taillights, fenders, bonnet, bumpers, turn signals, the Volkswagen logo on the bonnet, and in some nice attention to detail, he only sports one wing mirror, which I believe was commonplace at the time. For those tired of the yellow with black stripes deco on most Camaro Bumblebees, this might actually make you appreciate it more, being mostly plain yellow with hints of grey, black, red, and orange. It doesn't look awful, but I'd say both of the redecos outclass SS-18 itself, whether it's a potential Goldbug homage, or minor rust patterns leading to greater screen accuracy. This Bumblebee technically comes with 5 accessories, though only 3 of them are packed separate in the bubble: the Gatling gun, arm blade, and a battle mask face, all of which store underneath. Well, the mask pegs into a slot below the front bumper. It stays put, but the mask partially sticks out, though given the vehicle's denser than I am, I guess there was no room elsewhere. Actually, that last part ties into my main gripe with this toy. From a distance, it's less noticeable, and it still holds together well enough, but up close, you can see that the rear, and to a lesser extent the roof, don't quite peg into place all the way. Getting B into car mode is rough. There are a lot of tabs and slots, yet he's so small and compact, things just don't mesh or come together as they should. For instance, these holes for his robot mode pecs are also intended for these forearm pegs in alt mode, but they don't line up, and there's no room to maneuver the arms into place. Also, the tabs on the doors are designed for slots in his thighs, except, you guessed it, they don't stay in. Going to robot mode's no walk in the park either. Folding up the car shell flush on his back requires you to force it past a tab, which makes it feel like you're about to break the damn thing. Did I mention the roof is made of translucent plastic? SS-18 was designed more or less in time for when Bumblebee hit the big screen. As such, this and a couple of other Studio Series entries are supposedly based on concept art, some of which I believe is on the packaging. If nothing else, the figure differs somewhat from the final CG model. Details like the design of his feet and the fragmented car front for his chest are correct. However, other features, like the door wings and the trunk halves/rear wheels on his calves, are absent from the film. Plus, his limbs come off as slimmer on this toy. While this goes against the line's focus on screen accuracy, they don't detract from the overall look in my opinion. What does, however, is the lack of gunmetal grey paint, even though the moulding for it is there. Also, Studio Series is one of the few lines with emphasis on, at least robot mode scale, hence why SS-18 is much smaller than, say, SS-46 Dropkick and SS-59 Shatter, despite all 3 being deluxes. That's how it was in the film. Just check out the torture scene. While I appreciate this, at the same time, it's not worth the problems it causes for the alt mode and transformation. For articulation, B's head is on a ball joint, as are his shoulders, though you can also make use of those shoulder transformation hinges. You have swivels above the elbows, and the elbows themselves, along with the wrists, hinge about 90 degrees. The waist can just about spin a full 360, though there's almost no clearance between the hips and backpack. The hips are ball jointed with minor thigh swivels just below. The knees almost bend 90 degrees, though they can actually reverse bend a little. His ankles are double hinged, and the tilt is incredible. There are arguably more posable Bumblebees in Studio Series, but SS-18 is still pretty good for what he has to work with. Bee's other two accessories are actually his right arm and his face, which are interchangeable with the Gatling gun and battle mask respectively. Simply pop off one and replace with the other. Be cautious when removing the face or mask, since they peg in pretty tight. And yes, the right arm and face store in the same place in car mode as the gun and mask, and vice versa, though where the gun arm's concerned, there's practically zero ground clearance. The blade, meanwhile, simply pegs onto either arm, or even the Gatling gun if you so choose. But that's not all. With almost every Studio Series figure, we get a diorama of a scene from that character's respective film. SS-18 comes with a backdrop of Charlie's garage. To avoid repetition, for future reviews I'll simply leave a note, either in the video or if I forget the description box, of the included card insert, with some exceptions. While a nice idea, I generally don't use these. They're just not for me, though they're much better looking and sturdier than Prime's first edition stands. But at the end of the day, I wish the budget for these went into the figures themselves, cause to be blunt, some of them need it, this one included. Don't get me wrong, this version of Bumblebee looks fine in both modes, is well articulated, and has some cool play options. But this toy essentially represents the film's lead in his primary form. But between the blandness, poor tolerances, and overall finickiness, the figure falls short. Pun partially intended. As such, I award SS-18 a bronze medal, but it comes dangerously close to tin. It's one of my least favourite Studio Series Bumblebees, and one of the weaker entries for the Bumblebee movie cast, but not the worst in either camp.